TV. This is what funds the operation, and it's still the same price as it was when we introduced it 6.5 years ago. It's $5.95 a month, and for a limited time you can get the equivalent of 5 months free by getting a yearly subscription for just $39.95. So I really encourage people to take advantage of that, especially now when we've got the discount running, and that's prisonplanet.tv. Subscribe today. Okay, we're going to go to the calls. First up, Julio in Illinois. Julio, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Paul, Merry Christmas to you across the pond, and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to all those freedom lovers worldwide. I knew last year, as the CIA was getting set for their fake Christmas Day underwear bomber down in Amsterdam going to Detroit, that 2010 was going to be a pivotal year, and as we've seen, it's turned out that way, and they're getting set for 2011 being one of the most crucial years in the coming of the second American Revolution and revolution worldwide. Quickly, you're talking about Homeland Security and calling us all domestic terrorists. I mean, what else are they going to say, knowing that we constantly, with your awesome work, your brother's awesome work, and everyone at InfoWars, and everyone worldwide, revealing the truth? What else are these, scum going to say, other than, pointing the finger at us and calling us domestic terrorists, saying that those who believe in the Constitution, those who are against global warming, are right-wing nuts. And a quick trend, there's going to be man-made. They talk about man-made global warming all the time. What's going to happen this year? And this is what I mean in terms of weather modification. I just recently landed on a new document from the National Intelligence Council, September 2010, Global Governance 2025. Paul, if you can look that up. It's crazy. Even on the cover, it shows the G20, and we've heard Herman Van Rompuy, European Union president, talk about global governance with the G20, established by the G20. It has the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, right on the front, the United Nations right on the front. September 2010, and it talks about climate change as a way to bring about global governance. Now, you talked about yesterday how in England, with the record snowstorm all around England and Europe, that they're blaming it on man. Yesterday on CNS News, I saw on the Drudge Report, Janet Napolitano is having a climate change council with the Coast Guard. We've seen Ready.gov all throughout the country. Bill Gates was at Bilderberg. Bill Gates has weather modification patents. There was the Owning the Weather in 2025 from the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force War College white paper, talking about how a weather modification weapon would be so powerful because no one would know if storms were man-made or were they just natural occurrence. So I think 2011, as Lindsey Williams said, that we're going to be too poor to protest. With major storms, it damages infrastructure. Of course, we, the people, the peasants, the sheeple, are going to have to pay for this. So I think there is going to be man-made global warming in terms of weather modification. And another thing about the FCC, people need to know that the FCC, I'm a broadcasting major, the FCC has no regulations over cable, satellite, or the internet. Yet they say they can do this, and it boggles my mind that this is happening in Christmas. We remember 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act passing on Christmas Day, on Christmas Eve. You have the Obama death care bill passing last year, or a portion of it on Christmas Eve, and here we go again. We're right around Christmas, and what is the FCC and Big Brother talking about? Silencing the internet. Paul, Merry Christmas to you, and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to everybody.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean, it's a sneak attack. I mean, they just snuck through, the Senate did, on Sunday night, the so-called food safety bill, which is basically just a big agribusiness assault on local and small farmers. Anybody who has a turnover of more than $1 million a year, not a profit, just a turnover, which includes anybody with, 20 acres of land, they're going to put them out of business, basically. That's what it's about. They snuck that through on Sunday night. Congress is set to vote on that. They'll probably try and get that done before Christmas when everybody's not watching. So again, criminals work in the dark. They like to sneak their evil deeds through the back door. And you were just talking about the UN approach to climate change. Global Governance 2025. And in fact, we wrote an article a few months ago where the UN directly orders its alarmists and administrators to change the propaganda they've been completely discredited on man-made global warming and climate change, with Britain now experiencing its coldest December on record low temperatures. They've said we need to get out of this kind of rhetoric. We need to replace it with something else, something which seems more genuine. And they've resolved to replace the threat of climate change with the threat of overpopulation, which many, particularly statists and liberals, subscribe to, when in fact, as we have vehemently documented time after time, the UN Population Fund's own figures show that global population will rise, will peak at 9 billion in around 2050, after which it will rapidly fall. The global replacement rate for human beings is already below the level of 2 in Europe. We're already dying out. And in countries such as even India and Brazil, the replacement rate is slowly starting to come back into line. The only thing that will cause overpopulation is if you don't allow third world countries to develop, which of course is what the climate alarmists are all about. They want to keep the third world in poverty because, of course, becoming a developed nation means emitting CO2. As Lord Monckton, who is coming on in the third hour, I believe, says many times, CO2 is the lifeblood of a developing country. You cannot develop without emitting CO2. And so they're going to try and restrict third world nations from doing that. But they've resolved to replace climate change with overpopulation because they know they've been completely discredited on man-made global warming, especially after ClimateGate. And the recent Cancun summit, again, was a total failure, just as the Copenhagen one was before that. Greg in New York, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to call in. The first thing I saw when I went on the internet today, I check NPR News a lot just to see what the state is saying, what's going on. And interesting article first caught my eye. It says, human factor provides key obstacles to terrorism. This article is just talking about how the reason why all the plots in 2010 have fallen is because of, well, the people were idiots. And it mentions nothing of FBI involvement with any of them. It says here, there's an interesting quote, when you are trying to recruit individuals, you may not always get the individual you want. You may get the person who is most convenient. And that's almost like saying the FBI hasn't found a smart enough person to actually terrorize us enough yet. I don't know. I was hoping on your thoughts on that.
Every single terror bust that has made big headlines in the news in the US or the UK has been either provocateured or directly created by the federal authorities. I mean, you had this latest one where they directly gave him the bomb. We posted a video a few days ago on prisonplanet.com, and it was an Irish gentleman, and he went, it's in the multimedia section if you want to go and watch it, and he went through every single case where it's deliberate entrapment every time. So they need to create these incidents. You know, they need to have dud bombs in Rome that lack a detonator, like any, you know, self-respecting terrorist would plant a bomb without a detonator. They need to have strange odors in the UN building to create this hysteria, to make everyone continue to buy into the terror threat, which of course is completely contrived. The Christmas Day bomber being the perfect example of that. He was allowed to board the plane by order of the US State Department. That's never mentioned when we're getting propagandized about body scanners by the corporate media. And now the ABC News clip we played at the start of the show, if you watch that in full, it goes on to state that Anwar al-Awlaki, the CIA lackey, is now the new bin Laden. They've dispensed with bin Laden, and he's now the new primary target. Of course, they're loath to mention the fact that he was meeting with Pentagon top brass after 9/11, months after 9/11, having been a so-called spiritual leader for the 9/11 hijackers and meeting directly with the ones who supposedly flew the plane into the Pentagon. He was dining with Pentagon top brass 2 months after 9/11, and now we're supposed to believe that he's the new grand boogeyman when he's behind all these terror plots, the Hassan shooting at Fort Hood, the Times Square fizzle bomb. Every single time he's been the patsy handler, and he's a double agent, as Tarpley has exhaustively documented. He's clearly working for the CIA. That's why he was at the Pentagon after 9/11. But, you know, they think that as long as they can throw these dud bombs in Rome at us and strange odours in the UN, that they're going to keep the hysteria at a decent enough level to where people will just blindly accept all this. And again, it comes back to making people being afraid to express their constitutional rights because they fear that anything might be a sign of terrorism. So it's about chilling free speech and chilling the mere behaviour of a free person. You have to. They need you to behave like a slave. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to enforce this subservience to government so that everybody needs to self-regulate their own behaviour and be a complete slave and be worried about having any independent thought or engaging in any criticism against the state. That's what it's all directed towards, as we spoke about yesterday. It's this psychological Berlin Wall that's being erected in the minds of people that they can't even imagine to escape across the other side for fear of being considered domestic extremists, as the feds now call them. Thanks for the call, Greg. Braun in New York, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. I'm a loyal listener. I'm glad you guys do this program. I have kind of an abstract question, so forgive me if I wander a little bit. I don't watch a whole lot of TV anymore just for the simple nature of the garbage that comes on. So what I do is a lot of times look on YouTube with a lot of different videos. Now, I was watching a particular video, a fellow by the name of Taj Tariq Bey. He is a Moorish American. I don't know.